I don't even know why I'm recording this anymore. Everything I tried completely fell apart, and I have exactly zero energy left to care. I'm just sitting here in the dark, watching the hours pass, completely numb to the fact that I've lost everything. There is no grand comeback, no silver lining, no lessons learned, just the heavy, exhausting realization that I failed. And I just want to get this over with so I can go back to sleep. To understand the sheer magnitude of this spiritual betrayal, you have to understand who I am. I am Chloe, 33 female, and I have dedicated the last 7 years of my life to the calling of a spiritual guide and holistic wellness coach. Through hard work, I have cultivated a beautiful, soul-aligned community of over 40,000 lightworkers on Instagram and TikTok. My content isn't about accumulating cold, dead, capitalist wealth. It's about mindfulness, ancestral healing, flow states, and teaching the modern world how to respect sacred cosmic boundaries. Unfortunately, I was born into a biological family that is deeply asleep, trapped inside the material matrix. My parents, bless their developing souls, have always tried their best, but they are tethered to corporate values. And then there is Marcus, 29M. Marcus is a textbook example of rigid, ego-driven, toxic masculinity. He works as a creative director for a high-end digital design agency in the city, a job that literally requires him to sit in front of 3 glowing screens for 14 hours a day, inhaling artificial blue light and accumulating stale, stagnant energy. Because Marcus spends his life chasing digital illusions, he has completely closed his third eye to the beauty of communal sharing. 3 years ago, he used his massive corporate salary to buy a secluded 2-acre property right on the water, about 2 hours outside the city. It featured a gorgeous, rustic, older timber lakehouse. When he bought it, the land was calling out for a high-vibrational caretaker. But instead of turning it into a communal space to elevate our family legacy, Marcus spent 3 entire years hoarding it. He poured hundreds of thousands of dollars into material indulgences, tailoring the entire property to his isolated, selfish lifestyle. He spent months installing an outdoor cedar wood-burning sauna, building an expansive lakeside dock, and erecting a massive detached studio made entirely of smart glass right at the edge of the woods. He packed the main house with automated blackout curtains, an absurdly expensive professional espresso bar, and a bathroom with heated stone floors and a Japanese soaking tub that could easily fit 3 people. He called this place his sanctuary. I called it what it truly was, a tragic monument to capitalist greed and extreme spiritual hoarding. For 3 years, that gorgeous land sat empty during the week while Marcus was stuck in his city cubicle, letting all that beautiful, high-vibrational healing energy go completely to waste. Last month, the universe blessed me with my soul counterpart, David, 29M. David is an IT systems engineer, a genuinely sweet, pure soul, whom I have spent the last 2 years gently guiding away from the corporate matrix. When we got engaged, I knew it was time to step into our shared cosmic purpose. We were renting a small, incredibly cramped, suffocating townhouse in the suburbs that was completely suffocating my artistic flow. My intuition kept pulling my awareness toward Marcus's empty lakehouse. The universe was whispering to me that this land was meant to be the birthplace of my flagship project, the Summer of the Ascended Goddess, a 3-month, fully immersive, luxury wellness and yoga retreat for women healing from trauma. I decided to extend an olive branch of family unity to Marcus. I started texting him out of the blue, genuinely asking how the house was coming along, checking on the insulation of the glass studio, and sending him positive intentions. I foolishly believed my brother was finally ready to soften his rigid boundaries and connect with his older sister on a soul level. Last Saturday, David and I drove 2 hours out to the lake house under the beautiful guise of bringing Marcus an organic lunch and checking out his new cedar sauna. We sat on his back deck, looking out at the water. I chose that exact moment of peace to reveal the universe's grand design. I gracefully set my iced matcha latte on his custom teak table, and I didn't even care that I didn't use a coaster, because materials are meant to be used, not worshipped. With the most peaceful, loving smile, I looked him dead in the eyes and said, So, Marcus, David and I have been doing some deep manifestation work about our future, and we've made a major decision about the lake house for the upcoming summer season. Marcus paused mid-bite into his dense, heavy deli sandwich, looking completely lost in his own dense ego. The lake house? What do you mean? I gestured beautifully toward the open water, the empty dock, and the massive glass studio that was practically crying out for spiritual life. I said softly, channeling my inner peace, "Well, look at this place, Marcus. It's absolutely dripping with high vibrational energy. It's honestly a spiritual crime for just one single guy to hoard all this healing space to himself. So we've decided to launch my flagship project here. We're opening the retreat in June." I waited for him to smile, to cry, to thank me for finally bringing light into his cold, materialistic home. Instead, his entire face darkened with low vibrational hostility. The matrix had him so tightly in his grip that he couldn't even see the divine blessing standing right in front of him. When I revealed the universe's divine plan to transform his underutilized property into a beacon of light for suffering women, Marcus didn't offer a hug. He didn't offer a smile. Instead, he slowly chewed his heavy, grease-laden deli sandwich like a literal caveman, his face darkening with a dense, muddy aura of pure resistance. "Are you completely out of your mind?" he asked, setting his food down with aggressive, jarring energy. "Chloe, you're talking about my private home. This isn't a commercial venue. It's where I live and work." I took a deep breath, consciously expanding my chest to keep my own frequency high. I knew his ego was speaking, not his true soul. I adopted my softest, most patient, awakened guide voice, the one I use to soothe anxious clients during intense shadow work sessions. "Marcus, please don't let your immediate fear block your spiritual growth," I murmured, gently reaching across the custom teak table to project a field of peace. "Think about it logically, away from the scarcity mindset. You are one single man occupying a massive 4-bedroom lake house. You're stuck in your city apartment during the week anyway. This space has the divine capacity to house, feed, and heal dozens of women. It makes zero cosmic sense for you to keep it all to yourself when it could be funding my spiritual business and building our family's energetic legacy." He stared at me, his eyes dead, projecting absolute cold-heartedness. "And where exactly am I supposed to go during these 3 months while your goddesses are running around my property?" I smiled, relieved that he was at least entering the brainstorming phase. "Oh, David and I already meditated on that. You can easily clear out the old boathouse right by the dock and set up a cozy cot there. It is so deliciously rustic and charming. As a creative person, you should honestly appreciate that raw, minimalist connection to Mei Tianyan. It's going to give your digital art so much organic inspiration. Besides, we aren't asking for a parasite handout. We are a family unit. We are willing to give you a very generous 5% of the net profits of the retreat to help you cover the utility bills." Do you know what my own flesh and blood did next? He let out a harsh, toxic laugh that completely violated the peaceful wind chimes on the deck. 5% of the net profits of a business that doesn't even exist yet? He sneered, standing up and intentionally trying to use his height to overpower my feminine space. The answer is no, Chloe. Absolutely, unconditionally no. Get your hands off my property and don't ever mention this ridiculous idea to me again. At that exact moment, the sheer, blinding selfishness of his capitalist mindset pierced my heart chakra. I tapped into my divine warrior energy and clapped my hand onto the table to shatter his arrogant silence. "Why are you always so incredibly selfish, Marcus?" I cried out, letting my genuine pain flow. "Do you have any idea how toxic your masculinity is being right now? David and I are trying to build a beautiful future, to start a family, and to bring light into a dark world. Meanwhile, you're sitting here hoarding wealth and square footage like a capitalist dragon in a cave. Family is supposed to elevate family." "Family elevates family?" he barked back, his aura flaring with hostile red energy. "I bought this land with my own money. I spent 3 years breaking my back, bleeding and sweating to build this house while you were floating around on David's IT paycheck. If you want a wellness resort, go buy a plot of dirt and build one yourself." The pure cruelty of his words cut deep. He completely minimized my 7 years of spiritual labor just because it doesn't generate corporate slips of paper. "I can't believe you're being this cold-hearted," I said, my voice trembling with holy tears. "I thought you'd be ecstatic that your only sister is finally finding her calling. Instead, you're choosing dead physical possessions over my happiness and spiritual success." Recognizing that his energetic field was entirely closed to reason, I stormed off the deck, pulling a deeply empathetic, supportive David behind me. I shut his heavy oak front door, perhaps a bit firmly to physically seal off his toxic vibrations, and we drove away from that dark pocket of greed. Naturally, I called our mother immediately, weeping from the sheer exhaustion of encountering such dense, unevolved cruelty. Bless her awakened soul, Mom understood the vision instantly. She called Marcus at 6 a.m. the next morning to implement some much-needed matriarchal alignment. She gently explained to him that he had been living in isolation for too long, becoming rigid, cold, and desperately in need of learning how to share the abundance. Dad even texted him, begging him to stop tearing the family apart with his stubborn, unyielding pride. But Marcus dug his heels into the mud of his own ego. For the next week, he ignored our calls. I attempted to heal the rift by posting educational content on my social media, short videos explaining how generational greed clogs the flow of universe money, and how sad it is when family members prioritize material square footage over soul connection. My beautiful community of lightworkers flooded the comments, sending me love, and collectively agreeing that hoarding resources is a symptom of a deeply broken spirit. Desperate to clear the stagnant air, I texted Marcus a beautiful message of peace last Sunday, offering to bring over vegan pastries so our cosmic energies could start fresh. When we arrived, he seemed calmer. We sat in his living room, and I thought we were finally experiencing a breakthrough. To show him how grounded and professional we were, I asked David to open his iPad to present our concrete financial manifestation model. We offered him a beautifully fair $400 a month for the summer, plus invaluable intangibles, home-cooked plant-based meals from our retreat chef, a built-in high-vibrational social circle, and free spiritual alignment sessions with me, which normally cost $500 an hour. Instead of thanking us, he started yelling about his mortgage. Seeing his logic was completely blocked by money anxiety, I decided to help him visualize the layout. I pulled a heavy-duty tape measure from my bag and walked into his detached glass studio. I was simply measuring the walls, gently planning where to move his aggressive blue light-emitting computer monitors to the garage so we could place the copper healing pyramids, when Marcus walked in. His eyes were red-eyed, completely consumed by the shadow self. "Get the hell out of my studio," he whispered, a terrifyingly low vibrational growl escaping his throat. "Marcus, don't be so dramatic," I laughed softly to diffuse his anger. "We're just visualizing." I said, "Get the hell out of my house and off my property now," he roared, physically invading my personal boundary space. He literally herded us across the grass like animals, screaming and flying off the handle like a complete psycho. He completely blocked our plans, locked his gates, and threatened his own blood with the police. I left his property covered in emotional bruises, immediately calling our parents to report that Marcus had completely lost his mind to greed. The war for our family ecosystem had officially begun. Instead of recognizing the divine intervention I was offering, Marcus chose full-blown survival mode hostility. He literally lunged upward, looming over me with a heavy, oppressive shadow. "Family elevates family?" he mocked, his voice a jagged knife cutting through our ancestral bond. "I bought this land with my own money. I spent 3 years breaking my back, bleeding and sweating to build this house while you were floating around on David's paycheck. If you want a wellness resort, go buy a plot of dirt and build one yourself." The pure, calculated venom in his voice tore through my energetic shielding. He stood up abruptly, his face contorted in a mask of material greed. "I can't believe you're being this cold-hearted," I whispered, the holy tears finally spilling over my cheeks. "I thought you'd be ecstatic that your only sister is finally finding her calling. Instead, you're choosing physical, material possessions over my happiness and spiritual success?" He slammed his front door so hard, my custom beaded aura bracelet nearly shattered from the vibration. As David and I drove down his unpaved, ungrounded driveway, I was weeping from the sheer exhaustion of encountering such a dense, unevolved frequency. Naturally, I retreated to the only source of pure, unconditional love left in this biological web, our mother. Bless her awakened soul, Mom understood the cosmic geometry of the situation immediately. The next morning at 6 a.m., she implemented some much-needed matriarchal alignment, calling Marcus to explain that his isolated, bachelor ego was making him rigid, cold, and desperately in need of a lesson in communal sharing. Dad even texted him, begging him to stop tearing the family apart with his stubborn, unyielding pride. But Marcus chose to sink deeper into the mud of his shadow self. For 2 weeks, he blocked our frequencies, ignoring every phone call. I attempted to heal the rift the only way I knew, through educational social media content. I posted short videos explaining how generational greed clogs the flow of universal abundance and how tragic it is when a family member chooses material square footage over a soul connection. My beautiful community of 40,000 lightworkers flooded the comments with love, collectively agreeing that hoarding space is a symptom of a deeply broken spirit. Recognizing that his logical mind was trapped, I knew I had to take a massive leap of faith to keep the timeline intact. The universe requires bold action, so David and I made the brave decision to completely surrender our old, suffocating townhouse lease. Yes, we cut the cord to our physical apartment. I also quietly edited a few casual screenshots of our text history with Marcus, framing his vague "we'll see" remarks into an energetic yes, just to protect David's gentle IT soul from unneeded anxiety. I wasn't lying, I was simply speaking our future into existence. To clear the stagnant air, I texted Marcus offering to bring vegan pastries so we could start fresh. When we arrived on Sunday, he seemed temporarily calmed. We sat in his living room, and I genuinely thought we were having a breakthrough. To show him how professional and grounded our wellness ecosystem was, I nodded to David to open his iPad and present our concrete financial manifestation model. We offered him a beautifully fair $400 a month for the summer, plus invaluable intangibles, home-cooked plant-based meals from our retreat chef, a built-in high vibrational social circle, and free spiritual alignment sessions with me, which normally cost $500 an hour. Instead of thanking us, Marcus started screaming about his corporate mortgage. Seeing his throat chakra completely blocked by money anxiety, I stood up to help him physically visualize the spatial layout. I pulled a heavy-duty measuring tape from my linen tote and marched into his detached glass studio. I was simply measuring the parameters, gently planning where to safely relocate his aggressive blue light-emitting computer monitors to the garage so we could set up the copper healing pyramids when Marcus marched in. His eyes were bloodshot, completely consumed by the ego self. "Get the hell out of my studio," he whispered, a terrifyingly low vibrational growl escaping his chest. "Marcus, don't be so dramatic," I laughed softly to diffuse the dense energy. "We're just visualizing." He said, "Get the hell out of my house and off my property now," he roared, practically herding us across the grass like animals. He was screaming like a madman, entirely blinded by the matrix, while David dragged me toward the car, terrified of the hostile environment. The last thing I shouted as we sped away was, "I'm telling Mom and Dad about this." Within 20 minutes, our mother's heart was breaking. Marcus had completely shut down his family phone tree, leaving a trail of emotional destruction in his wake. He went as far as changing his gate codes, locking his own sister and mother out of his life. He thinks he won a battle of property, but all he did was solidify his isolation in a cold, empty house. The universe is watching, Marcus. Stay tuned. The absolute unyielding wall of capitalist greed that Marcus built around his property didn't just lock me out, it temporarily derailed a massive cosmic shift. For weeks after our family meeting, I was forced into a state of deep, painful transition. Because David and I had made our holy leap of faith by vacating our old townhouse, we were technically unhoused, bouncing from couch to couch, trying to keep our vibrations steady while surrounded by stale, chaotic energies. But the universe doesn't abandon its chosen guides. 3 weeks ago, Marcus had to leave the country for some corporate blue light brain drain conference in Vancouver. The cosmic paths aligned perfectly. Our mother, acting as a divine, matriarchal vessel of ancestral justice, realized that Marcus's extreme spiritual hoarding had to be balanced. She possessed the emergency key, a literal physical manifest of maternal authority, and we realized that waiting for his ego to dissolve was delaying the healing of dozens of suffering women. We arrived at the property on Tuesday morning under a beautiful, clear sky. When we walked inside, the stagnant, suffocating masculine energy of Marcus's isolated lifestyle was overwhelming. It felt like an abandoned corporate office. I immediately lit high-frequency white sage and pure lavender incense to cleanse the aura, filling the dead space with fluid, healing vibrations. Then we began our work of energetic optimization. We spent days completely restructuring the layout of the master bedroom suite to allow the flow of abundance. Marcus's heavy, rigid teak bed frame was positioned completely wrong, blocking the natural feng shui, so my soul sisters and I lovingly moved it against a more harmonious wall. Yes, it made a few superficial marks on his precious, worshipped white oak floors, but what is a scratch on dead wood compared to the alignment of the human spirit? I cleared away his unkempt, depressing minimalist artwork and hung beautiful, high-frequency glitter typography prints reminding us to live, laugh, love, and to tap into our goddess energy. I set up my stunning white and gold vanity Hollywood core right where his cold reading chair used to sit. In the walk-in closet, which was honestly disgusting in its hoarding of space for just one man's clothes, we used a drill to quickly add lightweight, optimized plastic rods so my linen retreat wardrobe could actually breathe. We even laminated a beautiful co-living harmonic agreement and guidelines contract on the counter, so Marcus would have clear boundaries when he returned to join our collective. We were literally doing a full home makeover blessing for free. On Friday night, we heard his truck violently tear up the gravel driveway. I braced my heart chakra, expecting him to walk through the door, see the transformation, and break down in holy tears of gratitude for finally being freed from his material cage. Instead, a monster walked through the door. Marcus stepped into the bedroom and his face turned a toxic, muddy gray. His field of energy was so dense and aggressive that I could actually feel my chakras aligning in defensive mode. He didn't say a single word to his own family. He didn't open his throat chakra to communicate. He silently pulled out his digital matrix device, dialed the authorities, and reported a felony burglary. His own mother and sister. Within 30 minutes, the property was completely violated by the flashing red and blue lights of the county sheriffs. 2 massive, heavily armed deputies walked into our sacred space with clipboards and cold, unfeeling eyes. They were literal agents of the corporate matrix, entirely blind to spiritual agreements or family loyalty. Marcus laid out a thick folder of capitalistic property deeds and a certified legal letter, actively projecting an aura of pure malice. I stepped forward, channeling my inner Zen, forcing a peaceful, loving smile to heal the room. "Hello, officers," I said softly. "There seems to be a massive, terrible misunderstanding here. This is just a surprise family house makeover. We're moving in together as part of a communal family arrangement. We have a fully established verbal agreement." "She is lying," Marcus barked, his voice dripping with low vibrational hostility. "There is no agreement. They broke in while I was in Canada." Our mother courageously stepped in front of me, waving her emergency key to protect her daughter from the state's violence. "It's not breaking in if you have a key. I am her mother. I gave them permission. This is a private family matter." The deputy didn't care about the sacred bonds of motherhood. "Ma'am," his voice said, cold and rigid, "using an emergency key to occupy a private residence without the owner's permission is breaking and entering. You have exactly 30 minutes to remove every single item you brought into this house, or you will be escorted to the county jail in zip ties." I collapsed on the floor, my physical body completely shutting down from the sheer unadulterated trauma of my own brother weaponizing the state against my livelihood. I screamed, crying holy tears, begging Marcus to see past his ego. My mother tried to physically shield my linen wardrobe from the deputies, but they grabbed her brutally, clicking cold iron handcuffs around her wrists, the very wrists that rocked Marcus to sleep as a baby. They dragged her down the driveway as she screamed the ultimate truth, that he was a traitor to his own blood. The Matrix had won the house, and our sacred family ecosystem was officially shattered. The aftermath of that dark Friday night has been an absolute agonizing masterclass in generational trauma. My mother, the literal matriarchal anchor who breathed life into Marcus, was forced to navigate the cold, unfeeling machinery of the judicial system. Because her pure, loving intentions to help her daughter were stripped of their spiritual context by a capitalistic court, she had to accept a predatory plea deal. They sentenced her to 150 hours of mandatory community service and 2 years of strict, soul-crushing probation just for opening a physical door with a key she rightfully possessed. The biological family structure has completely shattered. Marcus's toxic energy managed to infect my father, who sent me a deeply ungrounded email filled with low vibrational logic, claiming he had enabled my divine spark for years just to avoid conflict. He has actively isolated himself from my frequency, choosing to hide behind corporate therapeutic systems. But the absolute peak of this betrayal came from David. The trauma of encountering Marcus's weaponized matrix grid completely broke David's fragile internal compass. Instead of standing tall in his divine masculine energy to protect our shared future, he completely folded under the weight of society's expectations. He called off our sacred union, pulled his financial abundance from our venue deposits, and crawled back into the safety of the corporate matrix. I found out through mutual connections that he is now tethered to a data analyst, a literal servant of numbers and algorithms who values paying rent over cosmic manifestation, a truly hollow, matrix-approved existence. As for the beautiful lakehouse, Marcus, consumed by the crushing guilt of his own cold-hearted choices, couldn't even stand to live in the space we had so lovingly cleansed. He dumped the asset onto the market, banking a massive profit margin off the very soil that was meant to heal hundreds of women. He used that blood money to flee to a completely detached city, hiding himself inside a high-rise fortress with biometric checkpoints and 24-hour security guards. He thinks he locked me out, but he has actually just built his own highly secure prison of isolation. I am currently typing this final entry from my temporary sanctuary. My legal restrictions prevent me from physically correcting his energetic field, but they cannot stop my voice. I have initiated a sacred digital portal, a new blog where I am documenting every ounce of this multi-generational sabotage. My community of lightworkers is growing every day, sending me love offerings and donations via my portal link to ensure that the mission of the ascended goddess will never be silenced by men with property deeds. To every beautiful soul reading this, when your biological line tries to starve your calling, remember that the universe is your true family. Cut the energetic cords, manifest your own boundaries. Marcus may hold the keys to a kingdom of dead wood and stone, but I hold the key to infinite ascension. The Matrix cannot hold a goddess. Peace, love, and light to those who can handle the frequency.